السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليكم. السلام عليكم.
أنا يامي. وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Your mic is on mute, I think.
Can Moulana hear me now?
Yeah, can you hear you?
جي بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Okay, Bismillah.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ما سأستاذ ريما. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. البحث الثالث في الإجماع. فصل: إجماع هذه الأمة بعد ما توفى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم في فروع الدين حجة موجبة للعمل بها شرعا كرامة لهذه الأمة. So the ijma of this ummah after the passing away of the Prophet ﷺ regarding the laws of deen is a proof for which is wajib to practice upon according to Sharia as an honor for this ummah.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الصلاة والسلام على رسول الكريم. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. اللهم ألهمنا لمراشد أمورنا وزدنا علما ينفعنا. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. رب اشرح لنا صدورنا ويسر لنا أمورنا واحلل عقدة من ألسنتنا يفقهوا قولنا. اللهم يا رب يسر ولا تعسر وتمم بالخير وبك نستعين يا فتاح يا فتاح يا فتاح يا عليم. Amin. So just to recap very quickly again, we mentioned previously that the sources of Sharia is four. The Quran, the Sunnah, Ijma and Qiyas. Why? Because either we will source our law from Wahi. Wahi is of two types, Matlu and Ghair Matlu. Wahi revelation, because Allah Ta'ala is the one who has sent the prophets Anbiya. Allah Ta'ala is the one who has told us what we need to do and not to do. So obviously our first recourse is to Wahi, towards the revelation which Allah Ta'ala sent. But the revelation is of two types. Either could be Matlu, meaning that Wahi which is recited as per Ibadah, and that is the Quran. Or that Wahi which is not Matlu, not recited as an Ibadah, and it is the word of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, is also Wahi. In huwa illa wahyu yuha, as the Quran itself says. Then, if we cannot find any clear evidence, now the Quran and the Sunnah, before we get on, the Quran and the Sunnah we discussed, because we are dealing with the Arabic language. So obviously to understand what Allah Ta'ala wants from us, and what Allah Ta'ala wants to abstain from us, to derive the ahkam and the laws that we have been subjected to, we have to obviously understand the language. And in order to understand the language, you need to have a breakdown of how the language works. So both Quran and Sunnah, they divided the words of the language, because the Quran is made up of both the words, nadam, wal ma'ana, and its meaning. Those two things go together to make the Kalamullah, to make the Quran. So in terms of its words and its meaning, there are 4 or 5 categories depending on how you make the extent of it. The first one is wujuhul nadam or wujuhul wada', meaning as in regards to the original intent, the coinage of the Arabic words, is it either khas, mushtarak or ma'awal, and we discuss the details thereof. Or the second category is wujuhul, second and third, wujuhul bayan, which is divided into 2 in terms of the clarity of the word, the explicitness of the word, or the ambiguity of the word. So if the word is explicit, there's 4 categories: Zahir, Nas, Mufassar, and Muhkam. And this is in the ascending order from that which is clear to that which is absolute, being Muhkam. And same thing with those words which are ambiguous, from the least ambiguous, Khafi, Mushkil, mujmal to the most ambiguous, which is mutashabi. In fact, that is totally incomprehensible to us. We have not, the meaning of those have not been explained to us, like alif lam mim, yadullah, istiwa al arsh, and so forth. Then we got the fourth category, wujul isti'mal, that in terms of the usage of the words, and there also this was divided into 4 categories as well. Hakikat, majaz, kinaya, and sarih. Hakikat, majaz, kinaya, and sarih. And the last category is wujul istidlal. How do we derive dalil from the words? We have ibaratun nas, isharatun nas, dalalatun nas, and iqtida'un nas. So this classification applies to both Quran and the Sunnah. In fact, it also even applies to modern day and everyday language as well. Technical language, to our constitution as well. We can apply these principles to that as well. Then we mentioned that we went into the second bah, which was the bah with regards to Sunnah. So obviously this need not have to be repeated there. So those things that are khas to the Sunnah, that was discussed. We did the classification of Sunnah into 3 tabs according to the Ahnaf: Mashhur, Mutawatir, Mashhur, and the Khabar al-Ahad. And then we said that the discussion revolves mainly around the Khabar al-Ahad. When will it become a proof, and when it won't be a proof? And in order to know that, there are certain conditions for both the Sanad and there are conditions for the Rawi before it becomes acceptable to us. Now we come to Bahad al-Thalith, today's lesson. Why? Because, as we mentioned in the beginning, the dalil that we're drawing from to derive our laws are either wahi, is matlu, or ghayr matlu, or it is not wahi. And so then either it will be the consensus of the ummah on a particular matter, the basis of which is Quran or Sunnah. I repeat, either the masala that we are basing our proof on is the consensus of the entire ummah, the mujtahideen of the ummah, based upon Quran and Sunnah. So that particular masala is not clearly explicitly mentioned in the Quran and Sunnah, but its principles can be derived from the Quran and Sunnah. Everyone agrees that in this particular masala's case, this is the ruling, and that will be called ijma. Or there is no consensus, but there are different opinions. Some ulama are saying A, some are saying B, some are saying C. That will be concept that is counted as qiyas. This is how we land up with the 4 sources of the Shari'i laws. So today we're going to discuss, inshallah, or begin the discussion on the 3rd source, which is ijma. You with me so far?
Ajay.
What is ijma? Lughi meaning of ijma is, there's 2 meanings. Al-azmu, to carry out an act with determination, to become determined to do something. Al-azmu, ayn zamim. And the second meaning, which is applicable here, is ittifaq, to be unanimous, to agree to something, for everybody to agree to something. Okay, so that's a dictionary meaning. It can either mean azam, to be determined, or it could mean al-ittifaq, to be in agreement with someone or something. What is the Shari'i definition of ijma? So definition is ittifaqu mujtahidi ummati Rasulillahi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam ala amrin fi ahdin. I repeat, ittifaqu ummati Muhammadin sallallahu alayhi wa sallam ala amrin fi ahdin. ما في شيء ثاني؟
No, my phone just repeating.
You
I
got
just said
that?
Salah. Ajay.
Okay. What does it mean? It means a consensus of the mujtahideen of the ummah of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam on a particular matter in a particular time. Okay, so that in brief what it is, the author will mention something similar, but he'll add different kuyud, and there's a reason for that, which I'll explain now. So he says,
No,
ijma'u ma.
Can Moulana just repeat the translation again?
The consensus of the mujtahidun of the Ummah of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam on a particular matter in a particular era, particular time.
Okay.
So he's explaining upon it. He's saying, Ijma'u hadil ummah is the consensus of this ummah بعد ما توفي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, after the passing away of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, after Nabi Sallam departed from this world, في فروع الدين, in the secondary issues, secondary matters of the deen. That's it. It is hujjatun mujibatun. It is a hujjah, a proof, which necessitates, which makes compulsory action, and by law, and karamatin lihad ummah, as an honor for this ummah. Now, each one of those words that is mentioned there, there's a reason for mentioning it, there's a reason for saying it. So first of all, consensus of, right? Hadil ummah. So it is the consensus of this ummah, and here by ummah doesn't mean everybody. Rather, it's the mujtahidun, as I gave you the definition. You refer to the consensus of the mujtahidun of this ummah, right? Not everyone. So the public is not included in that. But that, then this ummah, meaning not the previous ummah. If the previous ummah agree upon something, all of them, that will not be considered to be ijma. Like all the Christians agree upon Na'udhu Billah, Isa alayhi salam was crucified. That's not a hujjah against us. That's not a proof against us. Understand? And so on and so forth. Or it must be the consensus of this, the ulama, mujtahidin of this ummah, not of the ulama or anybody else's ulama. The whole world can agree that homosexuality is right and they have rights. That does have nothing to do with us. Understand? Got nothing to do with us. Our Quran very clearly states, okay, in that case we got cut in us to disprove it, but you get what I'm saying. So the whole world's ijma on a particular matter doesn't not in any way affect us. Then he's saying when is the time? At what time? So what after the demise of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. There can't be ijma in the lifetime of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Have you said something?
No.
There can't be ijma during the lifetime of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Why? Because Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was around, Quran is being revealed. If the Sahaba or anyone wanted to know something, they had to go back to the source. Either Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, ask Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam would either get revelation or he would tell them what the law is. So there's no conception of ijma during the lifetime of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. This can only happen after the time of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, in the time of the Sahaba, and thereafter. Now, where is the place? What is the mahal for ijma? Let's say fi furu'id, in the secondary issues of deen, meaning this can't take place in the others. This is the ijma can only happen in those things which apply to the a'mal of deen, not beliefs, not aqaid. Aqaid, belief in Allah, existence of Jannah, Jahannam, and so on and so forth. There's no discussion there. There is no discussion there. That is that's beyond reproach. So all those necessary and essential aspects of deen apply to aqaid. There's no ijma there. That's set in stone. Ijma can only happen in the a'mal of deen, and only in those a'mal of deen for which the Quran and the Sunnah there is no explicit ruling on it. And there's no explicit ruling on it. Otherwise, as I mentioned before, ijma also, there has to be, as will come later, it has to be based upon Quran and Sunnah. Otherwise, when we ask those who have made ijma, where are you getting this ruling from? You must be able to produce dalil from the Quran and the Sunnah. Okay? Now, I think if it fulfills all these conditions, then what is the hukam? It is a hujjatun mujibatun il amal. it is a dalil that is compulsory for you to act upon, and i'tiqadan also compulsory for you to accept as well. So understand? Compulsory for you to act upon it, and in certain instances, compulsory for you to believe in it and accept it as the truth. Right? Then he's saying, karamatan li ahli ummah. This was given to this ummah. The previous ummah didn't have it, as an honor to this ummah. Why? Because kuntum khayra ummah. You are the best of nations, and you have the best Nabi. And our Nabi, like all the Anbiya, he was ma'asum. Nabi Sallallahu as an individual was ma'asum. The individuals of the Ummah is not ma'asum. The individual of the Ummah is not ma'asum. But as an honor to this Ummah, Nabi Sallallahu has declared that if the Ummah agree to something, and again, the Ahlul Rai, the Ahlul Ijtima, the Ahlul Qiyas, the Mujtahidun, if they agree to something, then that agreement is ma'asum. So just like our Nabi individually is ma'asum, as an individual is ma'asum, the agreement of this ummah and of the mujtahidun of this ummah, that has also been given the status of isma. This is a great honor upon this ummah. And if the ummah agrees upon something, it cannot be wrong. You follow?
Okay.
Right. ثم الإجماع على أربعة أقسام. And he says that thereafter there are 4 types of ijma. This obviously refers to how the ijma was mun'aqid, how the ijma came into being. So either the mujtahideen of all the mujtahideen of a particular era, they all agreed verbally. They all verbally gave their approval to something, right? So the Sahaba said, the one Sahabi said something and everybody agreed, either verbally or by action. Either verbally or by action, meaning that they carried out what he said without objecting to what he said. Okay? The second will be what? That some Sahaba said something and the others kept quiet. Understand? They did not object to it. And they acted accordingly, then this is also ijma. Their silence, we did this before, their silence will be consent. Their silence on that particular matter will be consent. Why? Because we cannot imagine for one moment, that in the case of the Sahaba, that they will keep quiet in the face of batil. They will keep quiet in the face of something which has been said wrong, either irrespective of who's saying it. Even if Sayyidina Abu Bakr is saying it, radiallahu anhu, or Sayyidina Umar is saying it, radiallahu anhu, and kulli sahabi ajma'in, they will not keep silent if they felt that what he's saying is wrong. So silence in such instance where it's necessary for you to talk is a sign of consent, understand? And that you agree with what is being said. And the same thing applies to the mujtahidun in the eras thereafter. That it's impossible for us to accept the mujtahid who is a part of the Ahlul Haqq, Ahlul Sunnah, that something was said and he kept silent even though he disagreed with it. Yes, as will be mentioned later, if he kept silent out of fear or out of apprehension, it will cause fitna, or he was forced into silence. And obviously that won't be counted. That won't be counted as ijma, and his silence won't count against him either. Okay? Or he didn't receive the news of the particular matter, or he wasn't given time to give his opinion. And so those instances will be excluded. And the second time, ijma sukuti. The first time is called ijma azimat, and the second time is called ijma rukhsa. It's also called ijma sukuti. Ijma rukhsa or ijma sukuti. Okay, so that's the first 2 types. Then the third type is the ijma of those coming afterwards, the ulama coming after the Sahaba. And this is all the mujtahidun of any era, they all agree to something and they all agree with something. Understand? So this will also be considered to be ijma, consensus, again with the same thing, that no one objected, and we know for sure that they didn't keep quiet because they were being coerced, or they were scared, or they feared, they apprehended some fitna, or so on and so forth. And it will also be valid. And this is in a masala that the era before them, the Sahaba before them, or the Tabi'in before them, or the Tabi'in before them, there was no ikhtilaf in that particular masala. It's a masala that's coming to the front for the first time, to the fore for the first time, and they all agreed upon it. And the fourth one is there were differing opinions in the previous eras, but then in one particular era thereafter, the second, third, or fourth era, all the ulama mujtahideen came to agree upon one of those opinions. So, for example, the Sahaba disagreed on a particular matter. There was two different opinions, three different opinions. But when the Tabi'in came along, the third era, for example, this is an example. In the third generation, all the ulama agreed that no, from these three opinions, we feel that A is correct, and they all agreed to that. And in that case, this will also be considered to be ijma. You follow?
Sure.
Okay. Right. So we'll read the text now. ثم الإجماع على أربع أقسام. إجماع is a four types. إجماع الصحابة رضي الله عنهم على حكم الحادثة نصا. That the agreement of the Sahaba, the consensus of the Sahaba, upon the ruling of a matter which occurred, nassan, meaning verbally, clearly. They explicitly stated that we accept and we concur with this particular masala or this particular matter. Like I said, this could be verbally or by the action. For example, Sayyidina Abu Bakr al-Anu, although he was alone, understand, he said that we must wage zakah upon against those who refuse to pay zakat. All the other Sahaba said, no, how can you wage war? They're Muslim. He was ace out. And he stood firm because sometimes a haq can be with one person. Sometimes a haq can be with one person, not the majority. Understand? So he stood firm. And when the Sahaba thereafter understood and realized what he's saying, they all went out for jihad. No one disagreed, no one objected. So by them going out, even though they didn't verbally say, oh, now we've come to understand and we agree with you, Abu Bakr, by them going out and carrying out that order, and without complaining, without objecting, this is also nas. This is also this is also ijma that was saying Abu Bakr said is correct. Okay?
Sure.
And the same thing can apply to the Sahaba choosing Sayyidina Abu Bakr as the Khalifa of the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and so forth. ثم إجماع من نص البعض وسكوت الباقين عن الرد. Then ijma, the consensus of the Sahaba, by the explicit mention, by the explicit say-so of some of the Sahaba, and the silence of the rest from any objection. So here again, this is also ijma, their silence will be consent. Because again, I repeat, it's impossible to imagine that the Sahaba will keep quiet in the face of Badr, irrespective of who's saying it, irrespective of the seniority of that Sahabi saying it. Okay, so the fact that the others kept quiet without objecting, the mujtahidun from amongst them, this shows and indicates what? That they were all in agreement with what was done. For example, the compilation of the Quran. Sayyidina Abu Bakr initially he himself objected against what Sayyidina Abu Bakr, what Sayyidina Umar had come to him with. But then he came to see the light of it, and then he formed a panel. All the other Sahaba then participated in some way or the other. So although the others didn't give their verbal agreement to it, they also, by keeping quiet, they also showed that no, the compilation of the Quran was the right decision and the correct thing to do. Then the third type, ثم إجماع من بعدهم فيما لم يوجد فيه قول السلف. The third type of ijma or consensus is where those that came after the ulama of any era, right? So this is the door of ijma is not closed. The ulama of any era thereafter, understand? If they all agree to a particular masala, and there was no difference of opinion in that masala before them, as in there's no known difference of opinion in that masala before them, either because that masala didn't occur, didn't come about in the eras before them, or for any other reason, then this is also ijma as well. And so the tabi'in agreed to a particular masala, and we don't know of any difference of opinion at the time of the Sahaba with regards to that particular masala. That is the third category. Okay? And the fourth category, last category, ثم الإجماع على أحد أقوال السلف. Then the consensus of any error, the mujtahideen of any error, upon one of the opinions of those who came before them, of the predecessors. Right? So again, like I said, the Sahaba had a difference of opinion concerning a particular matter. Did Nabi Sallallahu see Allah Ta'ala on the night of Mi'raj or not? And in the later eras, all the ulama reached consensus. And Nabi Sallallahu, yes, he did see Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Then that becomes ijma. Follow?
Sure.
Okay. Now, obviously, all four categories of ijma, all four classifications of ijma, don't hold the same weight. Obviously, the ijma of the Sahaba won't be the same as the ijma of the Tabi'un, and so on and so forth. Okay, because the Sahaba had greater insight. They lived during the era of Nabi. They were trained by Nabi himself. So they're saying, so you're saying thereafter, أما الأول, this is now the hukm of each, and the strength of each. فهو بمنزلة آية من كتاب الله تعالى. As regards the first type of ijma of the Sahaba, ijma azimat, said, it does hold the same status and ayat of the Quran, meaning it is qat'i. It's a qat'i dalil. It has the same strength and status as an ayat of Quran. Meaning what? That if anybody rejects it, it becomes a kafir. If anybody rejects it, it becomes a kafir. Okay? And remember, once ijma has been formulated, it cannot be broken thereafter. So for example, the Sahaba were unanimous upon a particular thing. Then the Tabi'un can't go against that. They can't form a different opinion after that. That becomes binding on the rest of the Ummah for all time. Follow?
Sure.
Then ثم الإجماع بالنص البعض وسكوت الباقين. Then the second type of ijma, where some of them explicitly, clearly mention the consent, the concurrence, and the others kept quiet and remain silent. فهو بمنزلة المتواتر. It has the same status as the mutawatir hadith. Meaning what, it is also qat'i, it's also compulsory for you to act upon, but the person who rejects it will not be called a kafir. Okay?
Sure.
ثم إجماع من بعدهم بمنزلة المشهور من الأخبار. Then the ijma of any of the mujtahideen of any era after the Sahaba has the status of a mashhur min al-akhbar, of a hadith which is mashhur. Okay? This is obviously concerning a Muslim, which there was no difference of opinion in the predecessors. In the last type, إجماع متأخرين على أحد أقوال السلف بمنزلة الصحيح من الأحاد. Then the ijma of the latter day mujtahidun upon one opinion of the predecessors from the many opinions, this holds the status of a sahih hadith from the ahad. Okay? Meaning what it is, it has to be accepted and you have to make amal upon it. Okay? You have to accept it and you have to make amal upon it. So, although ahad is dhanni, remember we did that. Although it is dhanni, a dhanni dalil. But once each has been made upon it, we'll elevate that now to qat'i in terms of the strength of the proof. It will no longer now be dhanni because now ijma has been formulated upon that one opinion. So now it will be elevated to qat'i, so therefore it becomes compulsory for you to accept it. But because the origin was a difference of opinion, that is why you can't obviously, anybody that rejects it, you can't call that person a kafir or anything like that. Follow?
Sure.
Okay.
So only
questions?
the first one. I say so only the first one. You will say it's kufr if the person rejects it.
If the person rejects it, correct. But as you can see, all four is compulsory to act upon it. Okay. Irrespective of their strength, all four, it is compulsory for you to act upon it. Once ijma has been enacted, it becomes binding upon the entire ummah for all times. Okay?
Sure.
And now he's going to explain the same thing I told you. I believe it. Okay, time is up. Of course, we're going to stop the video. Any questions?
وأنا not for myself إن شاء
See, everything was clear, inshallah?
الله. إن شاء الله الحمد
Any news on the Rashid?
لله. Nothing at all.
Okay, inshallah. Okay. It is night of Jummah as well, inshallah. Make dua for yourselves, for your asatidha, your parents, your communities, and the Ummah at large, especially the what you call the mujahideen all over the world, and in those places where it's difficulty, Ummah is going through difficulty. And so Surah Al-Kahf, lot of Durood Sharif salawat upon Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, inshallah.
إن شاء
جزاكم الله
الله.
خير. سبحان الله وبحمده، سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك، نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت، نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. السلام عليكم.